Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Parks. I have my PhD in clinical and health psychology, and I work as a coach for expats and global nomads who are living around the world. I help support my clients through transitions and help them also to live their best lives personally and professionally wherever they're calling home. Now, living your best life doesn't mean being happy 100% of the time. And that can sometimes be a little bit of a controversial message. So I hope that you'll listen to why I say that that's the case in today's video. Really, this idea that we can be happy 100% of the time is a myth. Being a human being means we're going to feel a whole wide range of lots of different feelings, not just happiness. And we can actually cause ourselves more pain if we don't let ourselves feel all of those feelings. What ends up happening is that if we are constantly going for happiness, then we don't feel like we should feel other feelings, we end up often doing things that feel good in the short term in order to avoid some of those feelings. So that might mean things like not moving abroad because it's scary, or moving back home because you were feeling lonely. It might also mean things like leaving a romantic relationship because the conversations that were important in the long term were difficult to have. It can be so many different things, but the idea is that often if we aren't able to feel those uncomfortable feelings, sadness, loneliness, anxiety, anger, if we don't have the tools to cope with them, or we're judging them, then we are going to end up doing things that feel good in the short term, and then in the long term hold us back from things that might really make us feel more fulfilled in life. So we might also, if we don't have the tools to cope with those feelings, we might also do things that are strategies that aren't going to always be possible for us. So those could be things like distracting ourselves, numbing ourselves, trying to problem solve all the time, or trying to talk ourselves out of feeling a certain way, telling ourselves things like this isn't that big of a deal, or don't cry about it, or snap out of it, or maybe even being more cruel to ourselves and saying, you're such a loser for feeling this way, or you're so pathetic, or something's wrong with you. These are some of the messages that often my clients come to me with, and they'll say things like, I'm not cut out for living abroad because I'm feeling this way, or there's something wrong with me because I'm now at my job, I feel more anxious. Or right now in April 2020, as I'm recording this video, and we're in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, what's happening too is that I'm hearing a lot of people say things like, I'm not coping well because I'm too stressed, or I'm not setting a good example for the people around me, or I'm angry, I'm irritable. It's okay. It's normal to feel these things, and we put more pressure on ourselves than we need to by giving ourselves these messages. So why do we do this anyways, right? Like why are we so hard on ourselves about when we feel these tough feelings? And it's for a few different reasons. So one of those things is because most of us probably grew up hearing different messages like this, that happiness was good and people like being around people who are happy. And those other feelings aren't okay, right? And maybe you heard too, you have control over that. So that might have come off as things like boys don't cry, or good girls aren't angry, or it's not that big of a deal, or even this one that makes me cringe, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. All these kinds of things. Another one might be, like you have so much to be grateful for, so don't be upset. All of these messages leave us with this just instant reaction to judge when those feelings come up, when those hard feelings come up. Also, that happened as we were growing up, but then also now every single day we're exposed to messages that happiness and joy is how we should be feeling. And if you look at all of the marketing messages you're exposed to every day, you will see this played out. Marketing messages are all targeting your pain points, the places that you're hurting, and trying to tell you how their service or their product is going to make you feel happy. So be on the lookout for that too, because that's that subtle message that's telling you it's not okay, or you can't handle feeling this tough feeling. Here's how I'm going to help you to feel happy. So another thing too is that we're just biologically wired to want to avoid pain. And this is a survival instinct, right? If we didn't avoid physical pain, we wouldn't last very long, right? Like, you're here today thanks to all your ancestors who their natural reaction was to avoid physical pain. And this can be great if you're in a situation like you're about to cross the street and there's an oncoming car. You know, your body reacts like, pain's on the way, jump back, get out of the way of that car. It can also be sometimes helpful in a situation that's causing you a lot of emotional pain. That can be helpful at times. Something like if you're in a toxic relationship or toxic work environment. Sometimes we do need to listen to those feelings, and we do need to use them, you know, as messengers that are saying we need to get out. But so often we have feelings that come up that are uncomfortable, and maybe don't have the tools to deal with them, but we need to experience them either because there's kind of no way around them, right? We've got to go through them. And sometimes it's because of the fact that we have to go through them to get to things that are really important to us. So it could be something like, you know, the fears that come up when you're going for something like a job promotion or moving abroad or pursuing a romantic relationship. Often these things bring up a lot of fear or other discomfort. And if we feel like something is wrong with us for feeling those feelings, then we might walk away, we might avoid them, we might not let ourselves go through that necessary discomfort. Again, in the short term, that could be really helpful, right? It will feel a lot more comfortable. But in the long term, you're going to end up missing out on things that are going to be really fulfilling to you in your life. So what can we do, right? So the idea here is we don't want to just only go for happiness. We don't want to say like, okay, happiness is the way to go. We want to learn ways to not judge those feelings. And that's also because when we judge our feelings, you might have heard this saying before, what we resist persists. So one way I describe this to my clients is that we have like an initial feeling that's called a primary feeling. And that could be something like fear, sadness, loneliness. And then when we judge, we add a whole other layer on top of it. And that feeling, let's say maybe you're feeling sadness, and then you feel fear on top of that sadness, right? And so that's that judgment of like, why do I feel so sad? What's wrong? Maybe something's wrong with me for feeling sad right now. That it just compounds, right? Like suddenly now you don't just have this feeling, you don't have just this initial feeling, you have an even bigger feeling to deal with. So what we can do is we can't get rid of that primary feeling. Again, those are natural, normal human feelings, but we can get rid of that second layer of judgment about the feeling. And so that's what I focus on with my clients is as helping them to learn strategies to just sit with that first initial primary feeling. And today I want to teach you one way to do that. And it's all about developing something that's called emotional literacy. So take a minute and just kind of check in with yourself. Ask yourself the question of, how do I feel right now? I feel sad. I feel lonely. I feel irritated. I feel bored. It's okay if a word doesn't come up for you. Again, it's called emotional literacy. It's like learning to read. You're learning to read the feelings that come up. Sometimes we're not used. This might be the first time in a while that you've checked in with yourself in this way. But when you check in with yourself, I want you to do another important thing, and I want you to tell yourself, whatever feeling it is that comes up, this is okay. There is nothing wrong with feeling this feeling. It's a normal, natural human feeling. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to push it away. I don't need to analyze it. I just need to tell myself, this is a feeling. It's okay. It's not going to last forever. And that's one of the first steps that you can do. And it might seem like a very small, simple thing, but it can be a really powerful first step. It's just to make that shift in your brain and stop seeing happiness as the utmost, most important feeling to strive for. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are about this. I'd love to know if you're using this check-in technique. And just stay tuned for the rest of the month too, as I share more strategies for dealing with uncomfortable feelings and coping with them. I hope you have a great day wherever in the world you are. Take care. Bye-bye.